CM Punk causes controversy at WWE Survivor Series War Games, with many fans claiming that CM Punk went off the script and attacked a member of the New Bloodline during his entrance. We're going to talk about what's real, what's not, why many people are talking about this, what actual controversy could have happened, and so much more. We're also going to talk about the pay-per-view, the fallout from WWE Survivor Series War Games 2024. Who lost? Who won? What does this mean for WWE moving forward? All that and much more coming up right here in this video. So be sure to leave a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. All right, let's cover the Punk thing first, because I know that's what everyone wants to talk about. So CM Punk, of course, was in the War Games match along with the Team Bloodline, the original Bloodline, I should say, taking on the new Bloodline. Many Bloodlines. I may get confused, but he was teaming up with Roman Reigns, Sami Zayn, and the Usos to take on the new Bloodline. And as he came out for his entrance in Vancouver at Survivor Series, he went over to the cage where the members of the new Bloodline were all gathered and locked in, and he took a little bit of a I don't want to say a shot. It's not like a punch, but, you know, he like sniped at him a little bit, took a little jab at Bronson Reed, after which we see the screen go black and then come back a few seconds later, and this caused many fans to be like, wait a minute, what just happened? And this is kind of compounded with a tweet from Cultaholic Wrestling, who says, reports emerging of a fight involving CM Punk on the entrance ramp for Survivor Series War Games. All right. I want to be clear. CM Punk, I mean, look, I don't have any backstage knowledge, but let me be clear. I don't think that CM Punk caused a legitimate issue or fight here. That is not what happened. I think to assume that from this is wild. I also want to say, for the record, I don't think that the Cultaholic lads, I don't think they literally meant that or seriously meant that. I think it was a bit of playful, like, jabbing and like joking online, which some people did not take like that. They took it very seriously, and that's why you're seeing like some of these things online being talked about, and people legitimately thinking that CM Punk went off the script or whatever, and like this was like an off the script moment and is a legitimate fight, and it continues the pattern that CM Punk is someone who is going to go off the script himself and like not take it when it happens to him. Anyway, I think all of that is bullshit, to be honest. I like anyone who thinks that CM Punk legitimately did something here just based off of this. I think you're kind of just projecting what you want from the situation. I don't think that's what happened. I think CM Punk is a seasoned professional at professional wrestling. And the crowd, let's be honest, all night in Vancouver was not the best. This might have been a way to get them riled up and start like really getting the energy around this match. And God knows this match needed it, as we will talk about later on in this video. But I don't think anything of substance really happened there. I just wanted to correct the record. The one thing I will say is it was a little weird to see the screen go black. I assume that either something was said or maybe done. I don't know if it's the middle finger that WWE does not want on their TV right now. I don't know what it was, but I assume it was something of that effect rather than them being like, oh my God, cut away. This is legitimate fighting. I don't think that's what happened. All of these guys literally wrestled a match together like moments after this. Ain't no way. But again, if it did, I guess we'll talk about it. But I just wanted to correct the record. I don't think that's what happened. And shout out to the Cultaholic lads getting that getting the clicks and and making people crash out online. And I mean that in like a playful way. I love Cultaholic. Anyway, forget the controversy. Let's talk about the pay-per-view Survivor Series War Games. The one night of the year where WWE has 2 rings in the arena, and it is bedlam and mayhem from beginning to end, or at least that's the idea, because this pay-per-view overall was like many WWE pay-per-views that are not Royal Rumble or WrestleMania or SummerSlam for that matter, hit or miss. I think I'm going to be quite frank here. I think Survivor Series at this point has lost its status as a top 5 pay-per-view or a big 5 pay-per-view. I think Money in the Bank, as far as stakes and just energy and momentum going into the show at year in, year out, just has lapped it at this point. We know what SummerSlam is. It is their WrestleMania of the summer. We know what Royal Rumble is. It sets up their biggest show of the year in WrestleMania. And WrestleMania, of course, is WrestleMania. But Survivor Series is in a weird time where there really isn't, a reason outside of we got to have these like Survivor Series / elimination / War Games matches. It just is a little bit too forced, I think. And because of that, I don't think you have the same energy as you would for a WrestleMania. Now, of course, WWE tonight broke the record for largest ticketed gate set in outside of the United States. So that is great for them. Arena gate, I should say, because obviously they've had much bigger stadium gates outside of the United States. But it was a big moment for them. They were touting throughout the night. They claim over 17,000 strong in the arena. I believe the WrestleTix estimate just has it at about 16 or 17,000 last I checked. So that is a big number. They had a full crowd, a packed crowd, and they were using the very small entrance, which I love. So it was a big feel, big event, and it was set up for a big success. And then the show happened. We kick off with the Women's War Games match. Team Bianca, that is Bianca Belair, Io Sky, Naomi, Rhea Ripley, taking on Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, and Candice LeRae. We saw Bayley and Nia Jax start off the match, and immediately the crowd was pretty hot for this match. They were going crazy, and pretty soon as the match kind of went on, we saw them kind of die down, and this would be the overall theme of this crowd throughout the night. As I said, it wasn't a spectacular crowd. Honestly, I had very high expectations as far as just energy that this crowd would bring from Vancouver. Vancouver is a great professional wrestling city. The fans are amazing. Shout out to the fans who were there in attendance, especially Mr. Dubs and Justin from the Wrestling Classic. But I thought that it was not the type of energy you want, especially for an opening match. And I thought, honestly, if you were going to open with a match, this was not the match to do it. Just because the way it was built up, I think they were kind of going for, all right, we're going to have as much plunder as possible. And boy, did they, because it felt like every single time a new person came out and entered the match, there was just plunder after plunder after plunder. They literally would run down the aisle and go get something from under the ring. And some people would even look for minutes on end for something and go to different angles of the ring. And personally, right, I'm one of those people who believes that you can do that in spurts and you can have one or two people do that, but having literally, and I mean literally every single person come down and grab something from under the ring, I thought it was overkill. It was noticeable overkill, and I just did not. I think it kind of got annoying after a while because I'm just oh my god, your partner's getting beaten down in the middle of the ring. Can you do something about it? So, regardless, though, that happened, and we then move on, and I think the spot of the night and possibly honestly spot of the year for me was we had on one side Io Sky go up to the top rope, and on the other side Tiffany Stratton up on not on the top rope, on the top of the cage, and then Tiffany Stratton on the top of the cage. Io Sky then takes a trash can, she branded in her colors, and puts it over her head, and she does a moonsault off the top of the cage onto 4 other team members. Then you have Tiffany Stratton in the other ring do the same thing to 4 other team members. Bedlam, mayhem, absolute chaos, and it was a lot of fun. Overall, the women's match was great. I thought, or had a great ending. We saw Rhea Ripley delivering the Riptide off the top rope through a table to Liv Morgan, 1, 2, 3, getting a pinfall victory over the reigning Women's World Champion. My overall thoughts on this match were that it was very clunky, to be honest, and a lot of the clunkiness really surrounded Nia Jax. I think obviously whenever you have a like someone who has such a size advantage over the other women, it is going to be harder to kind of synchronize some of these moves, especially when you're in this weird setting that isn't a traditional wrestling ring. It's a cage, but it's also two rings. But it was obviously you could tell that something was off. Something was very off. There were a couple of very noticeable botches, and I think a couple of places where the cameras very noticeably went back to or cut away from specific spots. The camera work all night was a little shaky in for WWE, especially to the standard you hold them to as far as production goes in this new era. So very, again, I thought the match was low on heat throughout, but that finish with the Riptide off the top rope, absolutely amazing. Shout out to Rhea Ripley for getting a win. Can we please end this feud, though? Can we just, I know we're ready till Mania, but please end this feud soon. Anyway, moving on, the United States Championship was on the line between LA Knight, and Shinsuke Nakamura, the new and improved Shinsuke Nakamura, challenging for the United States Championship and winning the United States Championship. I thought that going into this match, two things were true. Nakamura was returning, and he needed something to make it feel special, to legitimize his new gimmick. And LA Knight, as much as I love him, and I think that he is a fantastic professional wrestler and a fantastic character, we need him to do something fresh, something new, because right now, his United States Championship reign was on the verge of becoming stale and just underwhelming. And whenever you get to that point, especially with a mid-card title reign, it's time to shake it up because it's a mid-card title and you can do that. And you can use it to build someone up. Enter Nakamura, new gimmick, new face paint, new aura, new vibe. Horrible new entrance music, by the way. I hate Def Rebel. Fire them forever. Please. This is the abomination that is Nakamura's new theme is I cannot believe it. Genuinely. Why fix something that isn't broke? Anyway, that's the least of our concerns here. Regardless, though, I thought that Nakamura getting the victory here and becoming the new WWE United States Champion was the correct outcome. Nakamura, again, needed something to legitimize this reign, or to legitimize his gimmick, this change in him. And I think this does that, and it allows them to keep the United States Championship picture fresh and have a new horizon for what that is. And there's not a better guy you could argue to legitimize that as a workhorse title than Nakamura, someone who WWE has really struggled, to be honest, to get back to that high main event level ever since Vince McMahon botched his babyface run in 2018, turned him heel at WrestleMania 34, and he just has not been the same since then. It's obviously 5 years later, but hopefully we're on a right track here with Nakamura. I think this was a fresh start for him. And you could tell that the crowd was behind it as well. And I'll tell you what else the crowd was behind. The Intercontinental Championship match. Braun Breaker versus Ludwig Kaiser versus Sheamus. This was the best match on the card. Best match of the night. It absolutely blew everything else out of the water from an in-ring standpoint. And also, honestly, from an entertainment standpoint. I thought that this was just peak. Braun Breaker obviously came in as the Intercontinental Champion. They're telling the story where Sheamus has never won the IC belt, and that's kind of his reason for being here. Kaiser is just a dastardly heel, and he's just hello, I am going to challenge for the IC title, and it's great. So you have three awesome professional wrestlers going in there, blowing their socks off in some ways, literally. I thought it was great. Great spot with Braun Breaker, putting them through a table. In the match, one thing they worked over was Ludwig Kaiser's heel work. I thought his heel work was spectacular in this. He, at one point, goaded Sheamus into coming outside of the ring after Sheamus had hit Braun Breaker with a broad kick and looked to have gotten the 3. Kaiser pulls the ref out before that hand goes down for 3. Sheamus makes a beeline right to Kaiser on the outside. And Ludwig Kaiser bringing out, he must have visited Finley because he pulled out the shillelagh and started whacking, whipping, and brutalizing Sheamus like it's nobody's business. It was crazy. There were welts all over Sheamus's back. In the end, we saw Braun Breaker deliver a spear to Sheamus. 1, 2, 3, retaining the IC title. If you haven't seen this match after you watch this video, I highly recommend you go check it out. It was spectacular. Next, we got to talk about the WWE Men's World Championship. Damian Priest challenging to get his title back from Gunther. Overall, these two, of course, have had a feud that runs back to the summer when Damian Priest and Gunther faced off for the World Championship, when then champion Damian Priest was actually bested by Gunther, which actually started this title reign. And ever since then, they have been kind of feuding here and there, but it really ramped up over the past couple of weeks. And Damian Priest basically saying, like, hey, man, you really want to prove that you are the ring general? You got to beat me. And tonight, they went out there, and I think they were kind of going for a very similar vibe. It at least started with a very similar vibe of their SummerSlam match, which, by the way, I thought their SummerSlam match was like one of the best matches of the year in any wrestling company. And anyway, so their match goes, it's going good. They're basically like fighting. The story of the match is that Damian Priest's left arm is injured and Gunther is working it over, and that is preventing Damian from hitting his finisher. And at the end, we get this spot where Finn Balor actually interferes. Finn freaking Balor. Yes, this is still happening. We are still doing this. Finn Balor is still interfering in Damian Priest matches some months later. I don't think this is ending anytime soon. I think we're going to Mania. This is the Mania match, and it's cooked. It is cooked. WWE in their long-term storytelling. Dragging, much like this pay-per-view did. Ayo, you're going to hear that more often in this video. But Finn Balor interfered, at which point Gunther actually took umbrage with Finn Balor interfering because, you know, the ring is sacred and he does not want his victory tainted. Regardless, he took the tainted victory because Finn Balor's distraction was able to have him pick up the victory. Gunther retains, and it seems like we are building towards Finn Balor and Damian Priest at a later date, which, let's get it over with, Triple H. You don't have to drag this out anymore. Just do it at Saturday night's main event and we're done. Please. I don't need any. Anyway, he's not going to listen to me. Next match. The men's War Games match. On one side, you had CM Punk teaming up with the original Bloodline as CM Punk was brought in as a favor by Paul Heyman. So CM Punk, Jimmy, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, and the OTC Roman Reigns versus Bronson Reed, Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, and Tonga Loa. New bloodline, old bloodline, some new faces, but the action was going to be epic. And it was. Very fun match. Entrances, to begin with, were very subdued, and this is kind of what I was getting into. This Vancouver crowd, just, I don't know whether it was the wiring on the mics or whatever. It just seemed off for especially a show like this and a match like this that had as many stars as it did. But in this match, of course, the story of it was, can they coexist? Specifically, CM Punk, Roman Reigns, can they coexist? Punk seems to claim that the only reason he is doing this, the only reason he is joining Team Bloodline, I should say, for this match is because Paul Heyman asked him for a favor. And this was reiterated throughout the match, throughout this feud, that at one point, CM Punk will come to Paul Heyman and ask for another favor. So they seem to be at least doing some long-term storytelling, alluding here with this. But, I mean, the story of the match, though, was like getting to Roman, building the tension between these two, but eventually getting to Roman as well. And some insane spots were in this match. You had big ass Bronson Reed go up to the top of the steel cage. He was looking to do a tsunami to Roman Reigns, who was laid out on a table. As he goes down and jumps to get on Roman Reigns, Roman is pulled off by CM Punk. CM Punk saving Roman. And at that point, they had that trust. They built that trust. That's the spot that this was all building to. Bronson Reed took an insane bump there. Shout out to Tongaloa, by the way, who managed to botch even in this, because like my boy was why did they have Tongaloa come get the plunder? All right, he goes for a table, right? He's entering the match. He's like, yeah, I'm entering the match. And then he goes and he tries to get the table from under the ring. He does it. And then when he goes to push it in the ring, he does it in a way where the table closes the door and he just goes, oh, and he kind of goes back, and it's just, I'm like, oh, Tongaloa. This man can't not botch. He can't not botch. Where's Hikuleo, man? Bring in Hikuleo. Bring in somebody. But Justin Fatu. The real one. Justin Fatu, please. Anyway, Tongaloa botched, as is tradition. But that was not the great spot I'm talking about. Another great spot was Roman Reigns, because they locked the cage when he was coming in. He actually scaled the top of the cage and did a crossbody to the entire new bloodline. Insane spot. Got probably one of the biggest pops of the night in that. But it all built up to one moment. The entire new bloodline laid out by the OG bloodline, who asserted their dominance throughout the match. Solo Sikoa, literally like a child, like who got a little bit too big for his britches, facing up, like going toe to toe to all the older brothers, the older uncles, the older cousins, whatever you want. That's literally what this was. And them just stunning him, because you had super kicks by the Usos, Haluva kick by Sami Zayn, GTS by CM Punk, all leading up to a spear delivered by the Tribal Chief. 1, 2, 3. And the winners of these men's Survivor Series War Games match was the OG bloodline. No Rock return, none of that business. We did not get that. Instead, we got a moment at the end where Paul Heyman hugging, embracing each member as they come out of the cage. And as he embraced CM Punk reiterated, remember, I'm going to call you for that favor, as we will expect. I think they're building towards Roman versus Punk, probably for a championship at some point. I don't think it will be anytime soon, though. And then, as Roman, the last person making his way out of the cage, walks by Paul, he puts his hand on his cheek, and Paul Heyman worshiping Roman the entire way down the line. And we get this beautiful scene to end the show. Great moments, great vibe. The match quality was not good throughout the night, to be honest. But again, WWE is predicated on moments. They are not predicated on matches. That is what they're good at. They have leaned into that, and it is what they do. Like, I will say, for all of for as much as the show dragged, and it did drag, like 3.5 hours for 5 matches is psychotic pacing. It is like the polar opposite of the AEW pacing, where it's like you literally get winded watching because it's like banger after banger after banger, and you're just like, oh my God, okay, I can't watch anymore. This is like literally nothing happens for minutes on end. The first match didn't even start until like nearly 16 minutes into this pay-per-view. That is a problem. And it's a problem that WWE needs to figure out. I understand they have all these commercials they need to run and all that kind of stuff, but man, it dragged. That was the biggest problem, although the moments were really good, and overall, it was an entertaining show. If I had to grade it on a scale of like A to, F or whatever, I would give it probably a B+. Actually, no, I would give it a B. I would give it a B. B to B-, actually. And that is not like a bad grade or whatever, but I think, again, if you ask me what PLE was more important, was it this or Bad Blood? I would say Bad Blood. If you ask me to like kind of curve it as far as like where or fit it into wherever like WWE's other PLEs, I think this was like a B-level pay-per-view, and it delivered on what it was. And the moment at the end was great. Some of the moments and the finishes to matches were really good, but it just dragged for way too long. I can't give that an A. But regardless, of course, my opinion is only one. Your opinion is the one that matters. Let me know what you guys thought about WWE Survivor Series. What did you think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you really not care? Did you even watch? Let me know in the comments section. Also, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and most importantly, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Until next time, I'm Omer Q for Real Take Wrestling. Be happy, be healthy, and as always, keep it real.